Hi there and welcome. It's easy to get excited about server-side tracking, but what does it actually mean for your Shopify store? There is a lot of hype and a lot of confusion. Some see it as the fix for all growth problems. Others think it's just a technical luxury. You will learn what server-side tracking actually does, how it fits into your current setup, and when it's worth using, especially on Shopify. We will also look at what server-side tracking actually solves. Things like ad blockers, iOS restrictions, and missing conversions. And since this is all about Shopify, we will show you how exactly Shopify's infrastructure limits and sometimes enables advanced tracking setups. We will discover everything together, from native integrations like Meta, Google, TikTok, to custom solutions like server-side Google Tag Manager or products like Analyzify. As always, I will do my best to make it clean and understandable, especially for Shopify merchants and Shopify professionals. Let's get started. Throughout this video series, I will be following this guidebook, which is always up to date and especially created for Shopify merchants that explains server-side tracking for their use case. Let's get started with the foundations, and now I will explain you how client-side and server-side tracking actually work. Client-side tracking is the typical tracking that we know of, but happens on the browser. For example, when you visit a website, and when you go through their pages, you know that there is a pixel on the backend that sends data to GA4, Meta, TikTok, and other marketing channels. And everything happens now is on the browser. So when a user goes into your store and clicks Add to Cart button, client-side tracking through the browser sends the data to GA4 server, Meta server, etc. And with the server-side tracking, on the other hand, let's just go through that. With the server-side tracking, when the same action happens, the data this time is sent through the server. And of course, it feels more accurate because server-to-server communication will not be affected by ad blockers, iOS restrictions, and so on. But in the same time, of course, a very common misconception in the industry that server-side tracking works all by itself. That's not true. Actually, server-side tracking works together with client-side tracking, and otherwise there will be problems because within the client here means the browser. Within the browser, we have many valuable pieces of data available, so we need to send them both to the platforms. So the client-side tracking and server-side tracking should work together. Once again, just to simplify here, client-side tracking is the tracking that we know of. There is nothing new there. It's just the pixels firing on your store when a user taking an action like a page view, add to cart, purchase, maybe 20 plus events in average an e-commerce store receives through client-side tracking. And client-side tracking works with all platforms because client-side tracking is the common and the oldest tracking method that we use and we know of. Whereas in the server-side tracking, this time we have to use the platform's server-side capabilities. The most famous one is the Meta Conversion API, for example. When we review Meta Conversion API, when a user takes action on a browser, within the website, there are two different data sets are being sent, firstly to the server, and in the same time, also the same dataset through the browser sent to Pixel event. And in Meta servers, these two information is merged. And of course, both is used in different contexts. I will not enter to so many technical details in this video series. I will try to make it beginner-friendly, understandable for all levels of merchants and professionals. But here I need to mention that for server-side tracking to work, again, the platform needs to support that with the APIs. And also, server-side requires client-side in the same time for the best possible results. Both GA4, Meta, Google Ads, TikToks, they should all work together with client-side. So the client-side tracking runs in the visitor's browser. And this is the standard method used by pixels and tags such as GA4, Meta, TikTok to track the user activity. For example, when a user reaches the thank you page and when they complete an order there, a purchase event, and in the meantime, of course, the checkout started event, the begin checkout event, and a few other checkout events, along with the purchase event, should be sent to the platforms via these pixels. And of course, there are many downsides to client-side tracking, such as ad blockers. Ad blockers also works on browser, and ad blocker can block. It doesn't have to block all the tracking, but ad blockers can block some of the tracking. Safari and iOS limitations also affect client-side more than the server-side. And also sometimes the people just close the page too early, right? Before the pixels fired, before the data has been successfully sent. And that's another reason the client-side tracking can fail. There are many other downsides, but we shouldn't forget that the client-side tracking is still so important and server-side tracking will not be able to work alone. That's why all major players use server-side tracking and client-side tracking together. That being said, let's have a look at what is server-side tracking. Server-side tracking in the same time runs independently on the browser instead of firing the scripts or pixels on the browser. So it happens through the server. For instance, when an order is completed by a user successfully, Meta Sales Channel and Shopify, if you are using this combination in your server-side tracking, for instance, they will together capture this data and send this data to Meta platform so that Meta will know that that purchase has been completed. But in the same time, if the client-side tracking also sends that data to Meta, these will be merged and enriched together, and that's actually the best scenario for you. Obviously, there are many advantages in server-side tracking. As you can see, it doesn't depend on the user's browser, so that purchase event will be sent to Meta however, even if the user is using an ad blocker or if they somehow close the page too early or something like that. So we don't have these restrictions that we have in the client-side tracking because we don't depend on the user. It happens through server to server. Another advantage is the first-party data. When we are using some data from server to server, we can manipulate, we can enrich that data. For example, Shopify sales channels and tools like Analyzify enrich the data using the existing data that is happening in the server. For example, when a user completes the purchase, in that very moment, in the backend, we know more about this user in the backend. We know, for example, if they purchased a product from us before, what category they choose, what's their age, etc. We could use this data and send to server if we want to, and if we want to enrich this data, we can use server-side tracking. But of course, when we compare two approaches, again, we shouldn't think these are separate things. These are two things, they are supporting each other perfectly fine, but just try to understand better. Let's compare these two approaches. Where it runs, the client-side tracking runs in the browser and server-side tracking runs in the backend, either in Shopify server or Meta server or Analyzify server, etc. And it could also be, of course, Google Tag Manager server-side container. So that's another solution which we will be talking in the next videos of this series. And what it depends on, this uses the scripts, cookies, and page loads. On the other hand, server-side tracking is using the API calls, webhook data, backend logic, and many data enrichment. And of course, there is a high risk of data loss in the client-side tracking. That's probably the biggest downside. Ad blockers, consent issues, iOS, and all these things affect the client-side tracking more than it affects the server-side tracking, because in server-side tracking, we are independent from browser behaviors. Of course, server-side tracking is definitely not the solution to consent and GDPR issues, because you should still rely on GDPR even if you are using the server-side tracking. But server-side tracking will still help with that because many platforms like GA4, like Google Ads Enhanced Conversion Tracking, still gets the data when the consent is not provided, and they anonymize the data and they still use it. So thinking that, of course, server-side tracking definitely helps with that too. Also, the client-side tracking is definitely best for session behavior, UTMs, user actions. So whenever all these things happens on the browser, again, browser has more data about that specific visitor, whereas server-side tracking is better with the conversions, purchases, and the post-checkout event. Once again, let's talk about what is the hybrid approach we are talking about, using server-side and client-side tracking together. Of course, this depends on the platform that we are using. Meta and Google handles this topic quite differently. For example, in Meta, when an event happens, Meta expects us to send this event from the both sides, in the same time from the client side and the browser side. And also they allow us to send an event ID so that they deduplicate this data in the server so that we don't have a double counting. But in the same time, within GA4, if we do the same, if we send the same event from browser and server at the same time, then there will be a double counting issue. So in GA4, we need to choose which events to send from client side or server side, or there is an alternative method to use Google Tag Manager server-side container to send all the events using Google Tag Manager server-side container. So that will kind of cover the both scenarios of the client-side tracking and server-side tracking in the same time. But most solutions in the market that claims to be server-side tracking, they actually don't do this hybrid approach. We will be talking about each platform separately in the following videos. This video series will contain all the information you need for Shopify merchants, But now we wanted to make a soft start and explain you what client-side tracking is and how it differs from the server-side tracking and how they work together. If you want to learn more about it, you can watch our following video series, you can subscribe to our channel, and also you can always reach these guidebooks. YouTube videos cannot be updated, so after some time it is unfortunately outdated, but we keep these guidebooks always up to date for Shopify merchants and Shopify professionals. It is completely free. You can easily Google guidebook Shopify server site, and then you will find Analyzify somewhere here. Just go to that guidebook, and you will see all the sections that you need. And also we will make follow-up videos, and you will have a detailed videos in each section once we complete this video series, obviously. But we aim this to be the single source of truth in the market because, again, there are too much buzz in the market. Things are changing all the time. Merchants keep receiving the emails from Shopify, Google, Meta, and many app developers, obviously, that you need to install this app, or you need to remove this, or you need to use this type of tracking to make everything better. But frankly, it's not that complex. Let's just learn together. In this video series, we will try to make things easy for you and firstly understand how things work and what you need as a Shopify merchant. We will review all implementation options, including the native Shopify channels, which are really good, professional products like Analyzify, and custom-built solutions like server-side Google Tag Manager container and other vendors that offer server-side tracking. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you have any questions in the comments. We will keep releasing the upcoming videos, so make sure to subscribe to our channel as well. Have a great day ahead and see you soon.